Karen Bouchard here. Today, I want to share with you some worksheets that I've created to help you really think about, understand, and most importantly, write to the pain points and the longings of your audience. So, why would someone pick up a book and spend $16 to buy your book, spend several hours, which is even more significant than the dollar investment, but to spend hours of time immersed in your message and your book? So as readers, we do that not even because you're a great writer or because you have something to say in general, but because you have something to say very specifically to me as a reader. That's what I'm looking for. A lot of great books out there with a lot of great messages, but if they don't speak to me personally and really address a felt need, something that keeps me awake at night or something that I really long for, particularly, and that we're particularly talking about nonfiction here, although fiction also applies to fiction in that your fiction reader is looking for something that meets a need for them. It could be entertainment, it could be escape, it could be a thought-provoking story. They want to get lost in a good story, and so your book needs to promise those things to them. But in particularly for nonfiction readers can pick up a book because the variety of problems that we can face and the pain points that we feel in our lives as readers that would cause us to say, I really need this book to inspire me or encourage me or teach me or give me some hope or give me a specific solution to specific feelings that I have. That is, there's so much that there's such a greater variety that people come to of needs and felt needs and longings that people bring to nonfiction. And so let's take a look at that. So what I've created is some worksheets that will help you really think through, because if you're fuzzy in your mind in terms of what your reader really needs from you and what they're really seeking and what their emotions are, what their pain points are, where their hurts are, what they long for, the solutions they're looking for, what they want to hear, a hopeful message that they want to hear. If you're foggy about it, it's not going to come across in your writing, and your reader is not going to get that from you. In fact, your reader might not even pick up the book, because if they don't see those promises, and if something in your cover, your title, your subtitle, your back cover copy, your table of contents, your chapter headings, if it doesn't resonate with what they are longing for and what they need and the solution they're looking for or encouragement there's a solution for, they're just not even going to pick up the book. All right, so let's take a look at some of these. So the first thing that I want you to do is really understand the pain points or the demographics and the psychographics of your reader. Now, the demographics, and some of these aren't going to relate. Some age may not be, a factor, or marital status may not be a factor. So don't worry about the things if they're not relevant to your reader. But if there is something that is relevant, for instance, if you happen to know that, if you're addressing, whatever topic you're addressing, if you happen to know that, your message is really resonating, even if you're not talking about marital status, or that's not even a point, but if you happen to know that your message is really resonating with, married women between the ages of, 25 and 35, put that down. And it could be that something in your topic is really addressing that need. It could be that you are talking to parents of young children. And so, there may be kind of an age group where people are more likely to have young children. Now, I'm not saying there's not an exception. There's not a reader out there who is an exception to this. But when you think of kind of the bulk of your readership and the kind of person who is really going to gravitate to what you have to say, so we want to put those down. There may be a certain part of the country, that what you're writing is really going to resonate to. It could be you're writing about, Southern hospitality, and maybe people in the South are going to go, yes, that really hits home for me. I want to read that book. So it could be geographic, but these are the demographics, employment status, income. Again, some of these may not be relevant, but if you think that they are, go ahead and make a list of what those are. And then psychographics and behavior. And this is also really, really important. This is a whole nother category. So it could be that there's not a particular demographic that really appeals to your, that you're really writing to, and that your message really resonates with. But it could be, for instance, one example that I give, if I'm writing something really inspirational and motivational, and you know what, you can do it, don't think of yourself as a victim. I may be writing to people who love Tony Robbins, right? So there could be other people that that my audience or members, part of my audience, is going to follow and already like. If I'm writing about leadership and productivity, my ideal reader who's really going to resonate, my message is really going to resonate with that person, might really love and follow Michael Hyatt. So if I'm writing a Bible study, there may be other Bible study teachers that my ideal reader already loves. So things like that, so interests, behavior patterns, if I'm writing about kind of ADD friendly ways of organizing your life, then I'm probably writing to people who, kind of struggle with ADD behavior. So maybe they procrastinate, maybe, whatever. So I want to identify behaviors, who they like, who they follow, where do they hang out? Maybe who I'm writing to, my audience loves Instagram. Maybe they love Pinterest. That's where they hang out. Maybe they're not that interested in Facebook. Maybe they love Facebook. But whatever it is, maybe there's certain groups in Facebook. For instance, I create a lot of material and I want to connect with writers, right? So, and particularly Christian writers, because I really understand their heart and what they're trying to do with their writing and the life-giving message, right? So my audience is going to hang out in groups of writers online, and there's a lot of different groups for Christian writers online. And so I've joined a lot of these groups so I can hang out with people who are in my target audience. So where do they hang out? And in doing so, I get to share, I get to contribute, I get to speak into issues that they're having. If there's an opportunity to come up and they're curious, I can tell them about things that I do. But I'm getting to minister and to add content and contribute to people who are in my audience. So think through, even online, where do people in your audience hang out? If you're writing to people, who have survived trauma, there could be groups that where you're going to find more of your audience hanging out. So write these things down, make a list of, attitudes, interests, lifestyle, behavior kind of thing. So we really want to understand. This is going to give you great understanding, and you're going to see in a minute, why we're doing this. Then we want to talk about pain point. So good chance that your ideal reader is struggling with something. There's some issue that is keeping them awake at night, or that they think about, or that is holding them back, and they know it. They're kind of aware. This is something that I really struggle with. So that pain point, if we can identify and write to that pain point and communicate to our reader, hey, I get it. I understand what you're struggling with. I understand your pain point, and I have some encouragement for you. But we really want to, it's one thing to say, this is what I want to talk about, which is great. Then we can keep a journal and talk to ourselves, just write to ourselves. But if we're saying, there's readers out there and I want to speak into their lives, then they're not going to be interested in what we have to say unless we first can convince them, I get you. I understand. I see where you're coming from. I understand your pain point, and I have something that is going to help you address that. So our pain point. So I came up with some questions. So these would be, actually, a couple of the questions aren't on this page, but you'll see them in a minute. But we're going to ask ourselves a series of questions that are going to help us really identify the pain point, and also what our reader would love to hear, that solution that they long for, how they would long to feel instead of how they feel. And if we can convince them that we can help them bridge that gap from where they're at, where they're hurting, to where they want to be and how they want to feel, if we can say, hey, we've got some stuff to fill in that gap, they are going to love. They're going to want to pick up our books. They're going to read our articles. They're going to want to follow us on Facebook, because we say, we understand, here's where you're at. We understand over here. We understand the pain points. We understand the healing and the joy and the hope and the solutions. We understand how you would love to feel, and I'm going to help you bridge that gap. So there is a book that I just think is absolutely fabulous. It's one of the books that we published through Illumify, and Shelley Busby. I love her dearly. Shelley, if you ever see this, you know. And in fact, even more fun, our kids married each other. So anyway, so she's family, and just a wonderful person. And she has written just an absolute amazing book. And she's talking about redemption and sexual abuse, and it's a memoir. I mean, it's her story, but there's this theme running through, and many years that she felt lost and abandoned. And she really has a message of hope. Whatever tough times that we've gone through and we feel abandoned by God, we're feeling like, God, where were you when whatever, it doesn't have to be, sexual abuse, but whatever the things that we've gone through, and we have that feeling, God, where were you? And she really has, and it's a beautifully told story. So we went through this worksheet. So, and so she's writing to women. And so I asked, what are the women that you're writing to? The woman who, yes, any woman can read this book and just really be blessed. It's such a story of redemption. But, the woman who is really going to just go, oh my gosh, this just speaks to me. What are her pain points? And so we just came up with words. Shelley did loneliness. She's feeling sick. She's feeling lost. She's saying, I hate myself. She's saying, I can't do anything right. What lies does she believe about herself? I'm alone. I don't belong. No one sees me. No one cares. What words would she use to describe herself? She's broken, lost, aimless. Now you can see some of the themes are feeling lost or feeling alone, invisible. No one sees me. You can see they don't just fit into one category. Right? You're going to see themes that are continuing through all of these questions, and that's fine. But you may find something that only gets answered, shows up in the answer to one question, and it's really profound. But that's why we ask a lot of different questions. What does she long for? So again, we're starting with here's where she's at, right? And where does she want to be? Now, if we can promise that we're going to help her bridge that gap, she's going to love what we have to say. What does she long for? She longs for home. She longs to feel part of something bigger than herself. How would she love to feel? She would love to feel seen and loved and cherished for who she really is. And what benefits, if you could promise what benefits would really capture her attention, and so we came up with some words there. And then what words or phrases of encouragement would she like to hear? And we came up with a list. Now, this doesn't have to be the end of the list. We could have kept going on and on and on and come up with even more. And I encourage you to do that. So let's take a look. Again, here's this list. And I put this list in here so that you can print this out and you can begin to answer these questions for your reader. And it could be that if you're writing to a couple, let's say you're writing it could be a marriage book, it could be whatever. It could be, you could come up with pain points that they may be feeling as a couple. You could also begin to identify pain points that maybe the husband might be feeling and others that the wife might be feeling, that you want to specifically address. So we want to come up with these kind of phrases and words. So what we're doing, we're really creating a list of keywords that the minute that that our reader sees that, I mean, if a reader was feeling really unseen by God and abandoned by God, and they saw the title of a book or a Facebook post or a social media post or chapter outline or an ad or whatever it is that said, guess what? God does see you. And, but what it's going to do is when they see phrases that resonate with either something that they long for or something that they currently feel that they wish they didn't feel, they're going to gravitate toward that. That's going to stop the scroll. For instance, on Facebook, if you had a post that included some of these words and phrases that we just have been identifying, it's going to stop the scroll. It's going to just suddenly your reader, your ideal reader, the one who's going to really just get the most out of what you have to share is going to suddenly stop scrolling and say, whoa, okay, let me take a look at that. Now, so this is what I want to say. Write your title and your subtitle to that reader. Once you really understand that reader, write your outline to that reader, your chapter titles, your chapters, your social media posts, your blog posts, write them all to that reader and use some of the words and some of the phrases that we've just identified. And then the other thing that I want to encourage you is write your back back cover copy to that reader. Now, depending on how you're publishing and who you're publishing with, you may not be the one to write the final version of your back cover copy. Hopefully there's a professional copywriter who's going to take your description that you come up with and is going to write that in an even more compelling way. I do both copywriting and then writing to my reader. And they're two different skills, and you can be an amazing writer to your reader and not be a great copywriter. You can be an amazing copywriter and not have the first clue on how to write an extended piece to really, to your reader. So they're kind of two different skills, but here's a clue. All right. You're going to want and this is a formula. What you're looking at is a formula that we use at Illumify in writing our back cover copy. Too often back cover copies, the back cover description is way too long on a lot of books. You want white space. You want, so if you look at traditionally published books, you'll see that the back cover copy does not go side to side, top to bottom, with very little margins, very little white space. Over describing the book. The back cover copy is basically, it's not meant to describe your whole book. It is basically meant to let your ideal reader know, A, I understand your pain point. B, I have something to offer you. I'm going to help you fill in that gap. It doesn't need to describe your whole book, but that is the purpose of your back cover copy. And so when you can describe, when you can accomplish that, when you can communicate, I understand the pain point, here's the problem, here's what you're feeling, connect with me on that. And then when you can give some bullet points, or here's some benefits, here's what you're going to get, here's what I'm promising you, here's the hope that I'm promising you, here's where I'm going to get you to this new place. When you can write that in 140 words, you really understand your reader and what you have to offer that reader. If it takes you 300 words because you're kind of meandering and you're kind of over, then you don't have a good grasp of what's going on. So even if you're not the person who's going to be writing your back cover copy, write some back cover copy. Do it and work through the ideas and hone your message. Hone how you describe what the pain point are. Make every word count. Get some of those keywords that we just created. Get some of those in there. When you can describe your book in a compelling way, painting the picture of where your reader is when they're picking up the book and what they're longing for and how you're going to, create that promise that, you know what, I can get you there. When you can do that in 140 words, then you know that you have a good understanding of your ideal reader. And how to communicate the benefits of your book, and that you really understand the benefits of your book. How is your book going to get them from here to there? And what is your book offering them? And when you can do that in 140 words, okay, you're on the right track. You've got a good understanding of what's going on. So I hope that's helpful. So just some tidbits and some worksheets on really understanding and addressing the felt needs and offering hope for your ideal reader.